I almost refunded Mina the Hollower after 2 hours of gameplay. Why would you do that? Got 10 out of 10s across the board. One of the highest rated games of the year, and you almost refunded? Well, I said almost, because I decided to carry on. I decided to give it some more time to build, and honestly, right after that 2 hour point is where the game goes from dog shit doo-doo balls butter buns to amazing. And I'm here to explain to you why. Now, I don't like to dilly-dally. This game is from the Yacht Club developers, famous for Shovel Knight. I'm sure you know it. So you know the pixel art's gonna be great, the visuals are nice, whatever, but when I saw this game's trailer, I didn't like what I saw. How crazy for me to say. You see that beautiful pixel art? You must think I'm tripping, but it's not about the pixel art. It's not about the art style. Obviously, that's amazing. It was about the perspective. You see, it hurt my brain to look at. Now, you may think, it probably hurts your stupid ass brain to read, you hunk of moron. And yes, I have big muscles, and I'm showing these shits off. I worked hard for these. You'd show them off too. But no, it's not because I couldn't understand it. It was just, for some reason, the depth perception wasn't exactly there for me. But I'm happy to report that after playing enough of it, I got used to it. And you know what's so crazy? I played it, and I went back pre-video recording to get some footage. And I was back to where I started. It was hard for me to understand what I was looking at again. The depth perception wasn't there again. So it's something you get used to as you play and lose. At least in my personal experience. But listen, that's not why I was going to refund, because I got used to it really quickly. There were points where I tried hopping over walls or something because I didn't realize it was a wall. Shit like that. But the main problem for me was the burrowing mechanic and the weapon selection. Okay, you select a weapon at the start of the game, one of 3. I wonder where they got that from. Don't select the hammer. Oh. Listen, this game was made with the fucking ball on chain, the spike, the flail. I'm gonna call it a flail. It's like a flail. It was made with the flail in mind. It's why they show it in all the promotional shits. They even show it in these cutscene things when you don't even have it, if you don't even have it. And by the way, when you select a weapon, they let you test it out on dummies or something. That shit is not enough. You have to be able to test that out in real combat. I think that was a massive, one of the biggest oversights in the game, probably the biggest oversight in the game, because most of the negative reviews I saw were about that, or involved that. Also involving the burrowing mechanic, which we'll get to, but the flail has much more range, and combined with the burrowing mechanic, which we'll get to now, I guess, the burrowing mechanic on its own felt like doo-doo balls to me. It did not feel good. Even till the end of the game, it did not feel good on its own. And I was using it on its own for the first 2 hours, which is why I almost refunded. But when I decided to keep going, I realized there's these things called trinkets, okay? And right when you get into the first town, the main town, you can buy trinkets from this woman with many heads. Wonder what she could do with them. Okay. And there's a trinket that on a hit, as in when you hit an enemy, it gives you a massive burst of speed, a short but massive burst of speed. I'll show you a side by side with the burrowing with no trinket and with the speed trinket. It makes a massive difference. It completely changed the game for me. It made it so that I used the hammer for the entirety of the game. I switched off to try other weapons, but I was like, I kind of like the hammer now. It made it viable. It wasn't viable before. And I might have just been bad at it. Maybe it just didn't click with me. But that's what almost, if not all, I'm gonna say all, every single negative review I saw involved the burrowing mechanic. And I didn't even explain it, but the burrowing is a dodge, but it's a combination of jumping and burrowing under the ground so you can't be hit in one. So when you go to dodge, you instead jump. And so normally you would jump away and then you dive under the ground by holding it and you'd get out of there. But without the trinket, I found myself getting hit even when I perfectly, yes, I'm gonna say I did it perfectly. I perfectly jumped and burrowed out of the way. There was no time to be saved there. I just got hit anyways. Go to the side, go back, no matter what. Sometimes I would still just get hit and it didn't feel good. It didn't feel fair. And I would say, no ego. I know you might think I have a big ego. I don't know why you would think that, but I don't. I'm just saying this. I beat 3 Souls games on a steering wheel. Shout out this guy right here. I would say I'm above average as a gamer, specifically in games like this, Souls type games, Souls-like games, including 2D. And if I was getting hit, shit, I can't imagine what the regular average gamer was going through. I feel bad for you lesser folks. Okay. Either way, I'm going to get on to the rest of the game now. But I think that you have to push past that 2-hour window. I want to give you a fair warning. Now, most of the reviews were positive on Steam. It was like 85%. But 15% is a lot of people. And every review I saw, every negative review I saw involved that burrowing mechanic. You have to push past the first 2 hours and buy the burst of speed trinket. That will change the game for you as it did for me. And it made it one of my favorite games of the year so far. I'd probably say second alongside Forza Horizon 6. Because with that trinket, the gameplay is really fun. It is. I really liked using the hammer. I would charge up the hammer, bang, whack them, burst of speed, get out of there, come back in, charge it up, bang, whack them, burst of speed, get out of there. It was fun. I like being powerful. I like being maneuverable, nimble. And so it was really enjoyable. But on top of that, the trinkets, there are so many of them and they're pretty unique. So your build crafting is unique. I really enjoyed trying different trinkets, putting them together to get a build that fit me, because now we'll talk about the healing mechanic, which I completely forgot about until now. A la Bloodborne. They took a couple things from Bloodborne. It's not the same as Bloodborne. Basically, if you are at half health and you hit an enemy, you then build up a yellow bar. And that yellow bar you build up is based on the amount of damage you do to enemies. And you can heal that with a phial, which is basically just a flask from Elden Ring or Dark Souls. You use up a phial/flask and you heal up the yellow portion of your bar. So basically you get healing potential from hitting enemies, and then you actually realize that potential by using the flask. I like this. At first I didn't. And it can lead to some really irritating scenarios, some annoying deaths when you have like full phials, but you can't get a hit on an enemy without getting killed. Sometimes it happened to me, even a god gamer like me. But it made it like so that the game, first of all, once you get to the trinkets, the game really isn't that hard. I thought it was too hard at first for the first 2 hours. Then when I got the trinkets, I thought it was too easy. But there were some bosses where I got low and I didn't have any healing potential. And so I had to get in there and hit them without getting hit myself, or else I would die. And so I turned on, what did I turn on? I turned on God Gamer mode. I sat up in my seat, sat forward, you know what I'm saying? Elbows on the knees. And I got that hit and I got out of there and I healed. One of my trinkets was an auto heal, because I didn't like how long it took to stop and heal. It takes a really long time. There's another trinket to speed that up. But just as with the regular combat and the burrowing and the whatever, the trinkets I didn't like at first. And then when the healing I didn't like at first. And then when I got trinkets, I did. I was able to craft it to my needs, my preferences. Sidearms are something, they're like items. Like there's, for example, an axe that you throw and then it kind of explodes and hits enemies. I didn't use these at all throughout the entire game. They were dog shit and I didn't like them. I'm sure you could make them good with trinkets. There were a lot of trinkets involving sidearms. I didn't care at all. I didn't like them. I didn't like using them. This is a preference thing. I'm not saying they were bad. You might love them. I didn't at all. So I didn't use them. The enemy designs in this game were really cool. There were a lot of unique enemies. There were some like variants of enemies, so their attack patterns were the same, but they were different colors or something. It had more health, did more damage, that kind of thing. But I never ran into a scenario where I was like, I feel like I fought these guys a little too much and you're putting them in front of me again. You're annoying me now. That never happened. Okay, so I'd say the enemy variety was definitely good enough for me. And the designs of them were really cool. I loved how all of them, my dumbass forgot to talk specifically about the bosses, which were extremely good. All of their designs, amazing. They were super fun to fight. Amazing. The music for the fights, amazing. I felt a surge of excitement every time I entered a boss arena and I saw some cool ass motherfucker either transforming or appearing or just sitting there waiting for my ass to come beat his ass, because he knew what was gonna happen. There was also a lot of cool side bosses, like hidden bosses, which I love, man. Hey, there's nothing more rewarding to me than just exploring and finding some cool ass boss and I kill them and they drop some good ass shit. Okay, reward me not only with items and things that I can use, but with the fights themselves. There was a really cool one involving like a light moth that was that you had to take to one of the towers. Won't say much else, but you should, if you run into that motherfucker, hey, guide him there. A very good item you get too. I loved how everything in this game looked, including the areas, especially September. Oh my God. I loved September. I'm a big Halloween guy, so in turn, I'm a big fall guy. I love the color of the leaves, you know, the scarecrows that were in the area. Dude, the final boss, having him chase you throughout the area, the entire area, was such a cool idea, and it added so much to it, and it added to the final fight. You know, he's like this scary monster looming that the kids in the town are scared of, and they're going to hunt him down. It's like, that added so much to the area for me. Not to mention the mechanics were also really cool. So that was more of a vibe thing. I also loved the astral, I can't remember what it was called, like the space area, but I just love space, so that's why. I honestly do wish they did a little more with the enemy designs there. I feel like they could have made them cooler. I really love the first big guy you run into in that area, but it feels like they didn't fully realize the potential of that area, if I'm being honest. I loved how it looked though. The story, which I probably should have talked about earlier, but whatever, I'm no professional in this bit. The story was good. It's not like I'm sitting here like, wow, that was deep. You know, it's I spent 12 hours-ish on the game. Not like you can go all that deep, especially in a game like this. So I think the simpler, the better when it comes to games like this. And they did that. It was a pretty simple story. It's pretty predictable, but it served its purpose. And I enjoyed it. I liked reading the dialogue. There wasn't too much of it. They didn't force you to read a bunch. Yeah, it was cool. It served its purpose, basically. It was a nice, simple story. The town, the main town, the music in it was great. The vibe of it was great. The designs were great. Everything was great. And I'm going to give it the biggest compliment I could give a video game town. Shades of Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door. The main town in Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door, that's the vibe I was getting from this town. And if you know, you fucking know. That is the highest compliment one could give. It was partially due to the music, but also it felt alive, and it felt like it gave exactly the vibe they were going for. The kids kicking the can in the town, you know, the rich people walking around. You could tell who's who. The different sections of the town, the shops. The shop owner that sells you upgrades, sick. And the blacksmith and his brother, that was so cool. I can't say much other than it was really cool. The designs of them were really cool, and the way they implemented the brother or whatever the fuck, you know, I don't want to say nothing, but and the trinket seller also looked sick. I mean, they just did a really great job with the character designs, the town design, and the music. And it made for, again, something akin to the Thousand Year Door town. I guess in general, that soundtrack was so I'm not a big fan of like the 8-bit kind of, I don't know what bit it is, 60, the old like game style music. But they did a really good job here. Even if it's not my preference, and even though it's not my preference, they still had multiple tracks that I thought were really great. So yeah, soundtrack, they did a great job. I also forgot to talk about the achievements. How many things did this guy forget? Probably more than I'm gonna correct. Listen, I talk about achievements when I don't forget in every single review, whatever you want to call this discussion about a video game. From now, I will be. Okay, maybe I don't. I should, because they're very important to me. And listen, I'm gonna go more in depth about this in a video about achievements in general and involving a bunch of different games. But guys, Shovel Knight, I think, has a 0.5% completion rate, as in 0.5% of people 100% in that game. You put work into these achievements, and I can tell, which is why it's so disappointing that you put work in the wrong way. You made them all bullshit. You made a bunch of weird ones like skip a rock and kill an enemy. Look, I like some of those achievements, the unique ones where you have to do something weird, maybe interact with a game's mechanic that normally you wouldn't have. I like some of those, but the achievement list is flooded with those, flooded. And what's so annoying is I looked at the achievement list. I was like, fuck, dude. Because there's an achievement where it's like beat the game in 4 hours. I took 12. Maybe you could speedrun it on New Game Plus. I don't know. And there's like beat the game with 0 deaths. And I was like, you know, this looks really hard, but maybe I could do this for like a video or something. I might make a cool 100% video. But after looking at the rest of the achievements list, it's just tedium, bro. It's so many tedious achievements. I won't dwell on this for too long, as I'll go into it more in depth, as I said. But the achievement list is very disappointing. It would have added a ton of time to the game for me, and it would have made my experience much better. as good achievements always do. Look, man, I don't know if I'm supposed to give ratings or not. My rating system is just the Steam rating system, like overwhelmingly positive, very positive, that kind of thing. Overwhelmingly positive. Even with that first 2 hours not being good for me. Overwhelmingly positive. The area designs, the boss designs, the enemy designs, the visual design, and the gameplay once you get to the trinkets, the depths of the builds you can do with the trinkets. The length of the game, it was a perfect length. It was a perfect length. Around 12 hours, you want to leave me wanting more. Because when you overstay your welcome, then it can sour the rest of the game or like taint it. Even if it's just a little bit, it can taint it. They really did a great job here. I prefer this game over Shovel Knight. I never finished Shovel Knight, but I really loved what I played. I don't know why I didn't finish it, but I prefer this game over Shovel Knight. And honestly, there aren't enough 2D, like, what is this, isometric? I don't know. These kinds of Souls games, because this is so fresh in the Souls-like genre, at least for me, because I've only played a few. You know, Titan Souls being one of them. And I really loved Titan Souls. It was a short, concise, great 2D Souls-like experience, isometric, whatever. And with their expertise in the pixel art department, it really made for a special experience. So I loved it, overwhelmingly positive. I would highly recommend it, but make sure to get that burrowing trinket. And probably don't select the hammer off rip because you can buy it once you get to the town. Bye!